All right.
Oh, sorry.
Other side of the room. So we are coming back from a 3-day break. It's always good. We usually do this on Mondays, even though it's a Wednesday. It's the first time I'm seeing you this week because we had a 3-day weekend. So we check in with the course outline. If you go back to the very beginning of the class and our first day stuff, the first metaphor I gave you at the beginning of the semester for the 16-week semester was an American Ninja Warrior course. Remember that? This is the main reason why. The way you feel really tired, even though you just had a spring break, and even though you just had a Monday holiday, that's just because we're at this part of the semester, right? It's after midterms. It's the hardest stretch. It's when more and more is expected of us from all our classes. We're trying to synthesize all of the information we've learned and apply it in new and challenging ways, right? In presentations, in papers, in exams, in projects. So this is the hardest stretch, and this is what can just make you want to just check out, right? Just like these American Ninja Warrior, once they get to this point, their arms are aching, and they just think, it would feel really good just to close my eyes and just let go, right? So this is to remind you, and I know I'm talking to the people who came to class today, which is fantastic. We've got a full house, which is wonderful. So I believe you guys are committed, but remind yourself, whether it's this class or other classes, the only way to fail a course is to let yourself drop, right? Either to actually drop with your advisor before the last day to withdraw, which is coming up in a couple weeks, or to just pretend the class isn't happening, right? Just to drop your awareness of it. We want the course to be challenging, but I don't want it to be stressful for you. So that is why we have this course outline. It's why I printed it for you, gave it to you the first day of class, and you have it on the homepage as a PDF that you can always refer to. Now, if we look at this, we'll see that now that we're in April, we are continuing to work on assignment 5, which we just introduced at the very end of last class. I'll be doing the first videos on today. It's a modernist monster spot illustration, but also on the course outline for today, this is the first day where you can pick an artist name for your final presentation. So this video is not going to be about assignment 5. It's going to be introducing you to the individual final presentations. These presentations, you can pick your artist today, and they start on April 16th. So we have 1 day of presentations on the 16th, 1 day on the 22nd. They take no more than 10 minutes, 7 to 10 minutes for each of you, right? We have 18 students in the class, so we'll have 9 presentations each day. We could conceivably do all 18 in 1 day, but I make them across 2 days so they're not so exhausting and so that you don't have a conflict, right? So if you're going to miss a Monday, then you can present on Wednesday. If you're going to miss the Wednesday, you're going to present on Monday, right? It's important that everyone gets their opportunity. What is this presentation? Well, let's go to the homepage. Let's go to unit modules and look ahead a little bit, past assignment 5, past assignment 6, to unit 13. That is our individual presentation unit. We are going to be looking at contemporary digital artists, right? These can be commercial artists. These can be marketing artists. These can be graphic designers. These can be topographers. They can be animators. They can be motion graphic artists. What they cannot be is streamers, right? They are not influencers. We are looking at content creators in terms of digital media and digital imaging. So this hasn't happened much, but sometimes students will get confused. They're big fans of someone that posts YouTubes about Marvel's animated shows, right? But they're not the creator of the Marvel animated shows. So they are not actually creating digital media or digital imaging. They are creating what's called, actually, I don't know what it's called, but they're marketing materials for something else. We want to look at the people that create the thing that you like. So contemporary digital artists. No one gets to present on the same person, right? So how do you get your 5 points? Very similar to your midterm group presentations on a digital discipline. You'll pick one artist or one artist team if they work as a collaboration or as a studio, and use 7 to 10 images of their work for a presentation that's between 7 and 10 minutes. You're going to put it as a Google Slides. If you want, you can do it as a PowerPoint. You can even do it as a Canva as a presentation, as long as you can post a working link, within the Canvas discussion that works on the class computer, right? Google Slides is the way we did it for the midterm. It's the easiest way, but in my opinion, you need the images, but you also need the information about the images, right? So if you're just pick an artist that you found on Instagram and you liked them, and that artist doesn't have anything other than images on Instagram, that's not enough. Because you don't know what that image was for, you don't know what the dimensions are, you don't know what the program was used for. But if you research that artist and you find, oh, they also have a website, they also have a Behance page, they also have this interview that they gave, they talk about their process, they talk about where they were educated, what their biography is, then they would be a great subject matter, right? So that's where the image information is important. You do not need to write a curatorial essay for this, but you do need to present on the artist's biography and the artist's process, right? How they make their work and who they are, how they became interested in it, how they were schooled, that kind of thing. You get a point for being organized and clear, and you get a point for having extras in at least 2 different modalities. So the number 1 tip is make sure that your presentation works and has everything before the presentation date, because you don't have group members to rely on here. So you don't need to share your presentation with anyone. You just need to make it able to be viewed by the class, right? You don't need to make it editable, but you need to make it viewable. And you want to pick a subject that you're interested in learning more about. So you might have digital creators, animators, artists, video game designers, manga artists, comic book artists, you're already big fans of. You could use this to show that artist to the class, but hopefully also to learn more about their process and to pick through their portfolio for what you think are the best varied examples. So let's look at 2 artist examples. I would not choose these artists for yours because we already have full presentations on them. And a little different than our midterm presentations, each of these is going to have the personality of the individual student showing through their choice and through how they present it. So this student presented on this artist, Viore. This artist they follow on social media, right? But they also have a Patreon, and they also have a Gmail and a Twitch stream. And the student was able to actually contact the artist and ask them questions in order to get some information. And the reason we pick our names early, we have 2 weeks before we give these presentations, is so you have time, if you want to contact some of these artists, ask them your questions. But very often you can look them up and you can find online interviews and extra information about them. And if you can't, then you just want to pick a different artist. Then they have their image information. Now this is a lot of images, but they do keep it to about 10 image slides. They're just including a lot of images per slide, and then they also give the image information here. As long as you have the information with the image, you're good. What I like is that they have both the finished images. This is a digital painting artist. And then they use some of the process images, which are from that artist Patreon. Some others of their favorites, a nice variety of them. They don't all look like exactly the same thing, even though the style of this artist is pretty consistent. They'll use extras in a smart way to show us kind of speed paintings as they're telling us about the process and about who the artist is. They'll show us some developmental work. On and on. And remember, it's just a reminder, GIF animations like this, which also show process, are the same modality as video clips. Like this. They engage us in exactly the same way, right? With sequential time-based images. So that's one modality of extra. Their second modality of extra was using this external website and linking to it. And then kind of walking us through it. And this was an online interview they found, which gave them more insight and show more examples of the work. All right, let's look at the other example. I like these 2 examples, and I like showing them now because what we just saw was digital painting, which we'll be learning in assignment 7. But what we're doing for this assignment is what Gigi Cavanago does, which is illustration. So this is what's called digital inking and digital coloring. It's related to digital painting, but it's a little bit stricter because it's made for reproduction, which is what illustration is. Illustrations are made to be reproduced. Digital paintings are sometimes one of a kind, right? So what do you see that's different? Well, immediately you see the use of line art in the work, right? And then you see some use of coloring and even some print effects, which we'll be learning as well. This is the biography slide. It helps introduce us to the artist. Remember, you want to not just show us a slide telling us about the artist, you want to tell us who they are, right? Maybe why you chose them and a little bit about their background. You can always look up their name in interviews. And then the extra type they include here is this long 13-minute, real-time walkthrough of them making a piece. It's actually probably sped up a little bit. Now, you have 7 to 10 minutes max, so you're not going to be able to show a 13-minute video, but you could, as this student did, kind of skip through it and point to the different things they thought were most interesting, and then this was the finished piece. So that's the first extra. Then they show more of the work they like. Notice it's all line art and then coloring behind the line art. Line art and then coloring behind the line art. Sometimes the line art gets inverted and changed to a different color. Some personal work, some professional work. On and on and on. Some sketch. And then their second extra was to go out to a site where you can make your own kind of comic illustrated character. And the reason they thought that this related to their subject matter to help you remember is that this artist likes to sometimes do their own kind of fan art versions of things that exist in pop culture, like the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club album cover, which is what this is his version of, and then he puts his own characters in there. And so you can put your own character. They demoed creating a character and then putting it in, compositing it into this artwork. And then your references. So both of those would get 5 out of 5 points, right? How do you pick your artist? So I will erase these. I will put the new dates. You're going to pick your artist by finding one and then starting a post. So I'll start a post with your name. Today is the first day you can. And the artist you want to present on. And one of my favorite artists is a guy named James Jean. They have to be digital painting and illustration. Their work has to be primarily digital. So James Jean does work, like older work that isn't digital, but does a lot of work that is digital. So my presentation would focus mostly on that. How can you find an artist? That's the number one question I get from students. So I have a link in the assignment to Adobe's professional portfolio site. It's called Behance. It is free to start a Behance portfolio site, and they're pretty nice. I have one. A lot of my students have them. What's great about it is it's always adding new things all the time, and most of it, I'd say 90% of Behance, is by working professionals. And they're putting it up here to advertise to people they want to hire them. So they're going to show you their process. They're going to show you what programs they use. They're going to really help you understand their work. But it's daunting. Look, there's so much of it. Like, this is really cool. What's this? It's a mural. Really cool, but I don't know of a way. It doesn't look like it's a digital mural. And it doesn't tell me much. Well, maybe it does. But how can I search a little bit? Well, you can filter Behance for the kinds of creative fields you're interested in learning more about. And there are a lot, right? So let's deal with illustration. So if I look at comics, these are just the latest ones that have been posted with that tag. And if I'm interested in kind of characters design, maybe I'll find an artist that's new to me that I can explore. So I'll see their work, but this is just their latest entry.